everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. And this is another episode of Theater Tuesdays. And we are going to be talking about the month of theater in Utah, or at least Utah for us. I am theater critic Rachel Wagner, and Maren is here.
Hello.
Yay! Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited.
Yeah. And if y'all didn't know, we have been recapping Schmigadoon, Schmicago season 2. We'll have our last recap next week
Yes.
that we'll post for theater for this season because it's only 6 episodes, but it's been so much fun.
I have really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Such a good show.
Yeah, it's a great show, really funny, and it's been good because it's really pushed me to watch some of these shows I had just hadn't gotten around to seeing. So it's been a good thing. I mean, I've seen since it started, I've seen Godspell, I've seen Cabaret, both movie
Cabaret,
and
yeah.
show. We'll talk a little more about that. Last fall, I saw Chicago for the first time. So I knew some of these shows that are in this season that finally got around to seeing.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
which is
much fun.
nice. Yeah. So what I thought we would do is kind of go over some of the shows that we've seen this month and talk about some of the theaters and some of the things. And so I thought I had a very, very full month in April, probably the most full I'll ever have because I'm starting a part-time job in May. And so won't
Well,
have as
that's good.
much.
I actually kind of had a little bit of an empty April, and we'll talk about why
Uh-huh.
theater wise, but I did see some things.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
not as
So
much
I
theater
think
as I normally do.
I think it will be good. And
Good.
you fairly recently, did you get to go on the Utah Theater Lovers trip?
I did not, but I
Oh,
went to
okay.
New York myself.
Oh,
So
okay.
I went with a friend and went because normally I go every November, but because I recently had some surgery, so I didn't
Mm-hmm.
get to go in November. I usually go to the American Theater Critics conference in November,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to bow out, so I
Yeah.
didn't go. So I went instead after I'd healed from surgery, and I went at the end of January.
Do you know when that is? Is it when in November it
Yes.
is?
Yes, it is going to be. I'm on the committee, so I can tell you it will be November 10th, I believe. I can tell
Hmm.
you right now, November 9th through 12th.
Because I also have a New York Film Festival that's in October, so I think I'll have to decide between one or the
Which
other.
one will go?
Because I
Yeah,
probably.
well, it's a great time. I can tell you we put together a good festival. So
Mm-hmm. That'll be fun. Yeah, I definitely want to make a New York trip at least once this year. I got to go twice last year. But
nice.
we'll just see with the, like I said, with the new job. It's not too many hours. It's just a little part-time job
Right.
to add supplement my income a little bit. But
Understandable. You
yeah.
gotta you gotta finance the theater.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's true. Because I try to pay whenever I can.
Right.
I look at the Utah theater bloggers ones a little bit different because I feel like I'm kind of paying in my review.
Right.
That's kind of my payment.
Right.
But I'm trying to support the theater, so I the goal is to not need it, as many not need that many comps.
Right. Right.
That kind of goes against the whole purpose of what we're doing.
Right, and I love to support the theaters too, so when I go, I try even when I'm comped, I try and do concessions or
Yeah,
something just so that I can be supporting them because I
yeah,
love to support.
yeah. Well, for people that haven't listened to the Schmigadoon episodes, why don't you just introduce yourself to the audience and
Sure.
your how you started to love theater?
Okay, yeah, sure. So my name is Maren Swenson, and by day I'm a therapist, I'm a psychologist, and but I also minored in theater in college, and even before that, my older sister was a theater lover, is a theater lover. She's a high school theater teacher, and she's 7 years older than me. So when she was in high school, she kind of dragged me along being in shows with her, and I got bit by the bug even then. And then when I graduated from college, I moved to New York City because I had no life plan. I had majored in psychology and minored in theater, and with a bachelor's degree in psychology, what are you going to do? So
Right.
I had no life plan. So I went and I worked for a nonprofit in New York and went to grad school and saw a lot of shows. It was great. It was the most wonderful time, and
Oh,
my life has just taken so many twists and turns, but all throughout it, theater has always been there in one form or another. I have done a little bit of performing here and there, but that is not my comfort zone. Performing is absolutely not my comfort zone. I do love to sing, but performing in general is not where I thrive. I love watching. I love music directing. I
hmm.
love like a lot of that stuff. And so then in 2011, I found Utah Theater Bloggers. It was actually an
Oh,
interesting
you've been
time
around
because it
for a
was,
long time.
yes, very
Yeah.
long time, and it was right when my first marriage was starting to fall apart, and I needed an outlet, and
Hmm.
so it was wonderful. And so they were with me throughout like my marriage falling apart, and then me being a single mom for a very, very long time, and then finding my new
That's
husband and
great.
everything, like my children growing up. My daughter now is very much a very budding actress, and yeah, they've just been with me my entire like last decade of my life, over a decade. I've been and then throughout it, like I just started as a critic and then became vice president. I'm vice president of Utah Theater Bloggers now, and then about 4 years ago, I got invited to be part of the American Theater Critics Association, and then 2 years ago, I got invited to be on the executive committee of the American Theater Critics
Mm.
Association. So I've been doing that for the last 2 years.
Oh, great. Yeah, we met actually at Utah Theater Lovers event at
Right
their
on
spring trip
yeah,
last year. And that was really
yeah,
fun. I had been a member of Utah Theater Lovers on their Facebook page for a long time, and I'd always kind of envied the trips, and because they are expensive, but they're
yeah.
worth it. They pack in the events and the shows and everything. And I'd always wanted to go, but I just, I don't know. And when I came out of the pandemic, I was just like, nope, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going for it, you know? And
And Karina and Megan, who put the trips together, they do know their stuff so well that at this point now Karina plans all my trips, and like we it, my family and my husband, his my stepson is on the spectrum,
mhm,
and Karina's travel agency, they plan so well for children with disabilities, and so like
yeah.
I have them plan our personal family vacations
Oh,
too. So
cool.
we're going to DC this summer, and Karina's travel agency has planned that, and then I'm going to Spain for some work stuff this summer, and Karina's agency has helped me with that. Like
Yeah.
they really do. So yeah, you're right. It isn't cheap, but it is the best type of
Yeah.
vacation you can possibly have. So
The only thing that I just didn't like was the Ellen Stardust. That was
yeah.
absolutely terrible. The
So
worst commercially served food I have ever had.
yeah, so for people who've never been to New York or don't know, this is a restaurant that the waiters and waitresses sing, and 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 you eat and get to hear them sing and whatever
Yeah,
else. And I lived in New York for 4 years, and I had never been because
it
there's
was,
always a line outside the restaurant. And so for me, it was like, yeah, forget it. And the thing is that I'm glad I had the experience, and I would never stand in line to go to it. And I probably would never go again. But I agree with you, the food was not good.
it was
But
terrible.
again, I'm glad we went because I'm glad I can now say that that's off my bucket list. I've been there, and the singers were good. The singers were very,
They
very
were
good.
fine. But I was like looking
But
across the street at the McDonald's and being like, that was what
yeah, yeah, the food was not very good, but again, it was just one of those things too where being with that group and not having to stand in the line was the only thing that made going there worth it. And I would never recommend someone
yeah.
stand in line to go to that
if
restaurant.
if I go again, I'll find a way to if I can opt out of that part.
Yeah. And that's the only time that when I've been on any of their trips that we did anything like that.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's not like something where they do it every time.
But it was
So,
great. Even something that I was very skeptical about with the because they made it sound like the craft project.
oh,
The way they kept describing it was like, oh, this sounds so lame. Like, why are we doing this? And they're like, you
oh, that
need to
was so
go
much
over
fun.
and go over to his office. And I'm like, why do I want to go over to his office? And And then it actually ended
Yeah.
up being really cute. And like,
Yeah. 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 That
I
Tim
was like, we
Tim
need to sell
Dolan,
that
who
better.
yeah, Tim Dolan, who owns Broadway Up Close, which is a tour company and gift shop in Times Square. The partnership that they've struck with
Yeah.
him is the coolest thing ever. And I ran into him at Broadway Con later that summer when I took my kids, and my daughter got to meet him, and he was
It was
like, "You can
great.
come and work for me and be a tour guide when you come out here and try and be on Broadway." And he is like the greatest
Yeah.
person. So yeah, that was really cool to be able to go to his office and make something
Yeah.
from that was personalized that you would get from his gift shop. So, but I agree
Yeah.
with you without knowing what it was. Yeah, this like, is this cool? But yeah,
Yeah.
that was really cool.
But it really is very fun. And they have lectures that go along with each of the shows that you see. And then you can add your own shows. Like I went to Phantom and I went to Aladdin and all of
Mhm.
that. So anyway, I'll put a link if people want to check it, because anybody can be a member of Utah Theater Lovers. You don't have to actually live
Yeah,
in Utah. It's just like a fun group of theater lovers.
yeah. One of my best friends from Arizona came along on the trip with us.
Yeah.
He doesn't live in Utah, but came along
Yeah.
on the trip. So
Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a patron. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies. What is one of the shows? You said you were kind of light this month, but what is one of the shows
yeah.
and where did you see it?
So I hope it's okay to talk about this, but
Yeah, please.
one of the reasons why it was light is that my daughter was in a show, and so one of the things I wanted to bring up is just don't discount high school theater in Utah,
Yeah,
because
it's true.
high schools in Utah do so well. And so my daughter, and tomorrow is the last night, but my daughter has been doing 12 Angry Jurors at Syracuse High. And her teacher did a very interesting thing where she did two casts, and one cast was all male and one cast was all female. And so my daughter was in the all female cast, and I've gone to every night that my daughter has performed. And so tomorrow night will be the final night of that. But then I also went to the all male cast, which is how the show was
That's
written.
interesting.
Yeah, was the all male. Um, and it was fascinating to see how it was done differently with the
Mhm.
all female versus the all male. And they both did very, very well. It was also interesting to see it done because it's a pretty heavy show
Yeah.
for teenagers. And I was really impressed. And I got to know all of these kids because I went on their performing arts tour with them. I got to be a chaperone. And so I knew all these kids, and seeing them dig into this material and dig into the how deep it is. But then just, I had one of the kids tell me that in his opinion, the female cast is a slow simmer, and the guys, they just jump right into the anger.
Hmm.
And I saw that. I could see that. And as a psychologist, it made me wonder, what's behind that. Is that because society, we allow guys to be more angry quickly, and we we socialize women to hold our anger back? But there was certainly some things where some of the women got got to throw their anger more. And I found it very, very fascinating. It was also really hard because my daughter plays one of the more difficult roles, one of the more um awful, mean roles.
Hmm.
And so I had to kind of divorce myself from the idea that that's not my child. That's a character that she's playing. And
Hmm.
that's not normally what she's cast in. Normally, she's been cast in the very happy, very funny. Like in her ninth grade year, she played Winifred in Once Upon a Mattress. I mean, you don't get more fun than that.
Yeah.
And so to then see her play this very villain type role was very, very different for me. But it just reminded me how many times, and I know that you and I have talked about this too, that even though it's great to go to New York and it's great to see these wonderful things that, like, don't discount community theater, don't discount the great things we have around here, but really don't discount young talent.
Yeah.
And that's what I really enjoyed sitting and watching these kids so many times this month.
That sounds really good. I agree. The only thing that is almost always a problem in high school productions is the sound. The
Oh,
mics are
absolutely.
almost always a problem.
I'm so glad you brought that up because my husband has been like my plus one for the last 5 years since we've been married. And he said to me one time, I can't remember which theater we were at, but it was one of the ones up here in northern Utah. And they had done really well. I want to say it was Terrace Plaza Playhouse, but they
Mhm.
they had done really, really well on a show. And he turned to me at intermission and he said, "Do you know the difference between community theater and professional theater? It's the sound.
Yeah.
It's nothing else. It's the sound." He said, "Because you have taken me to Broadway, you have taken me everywhere else, and it's like it's just if they could afford Broadway quality sound, they'd be just as good as
Yeah.
Broadway."
And that's especially true with high school
Yeah,
high school
absolutely. No.
productions.
And trust me, like, because my sister is a high school theater teacher, and she's told me because one time, one of her shows, the sound was especially bad, and I talked to her about it afterwards, and she told me it's a $2,000 fix, and the administration won't pay for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so she's like,
Yeah.
"I'm totally aware, and I know, and it's a nightmare, but what can I do when the administration refuses to
Yeah.
pay?" So
But I was in productions in high school and it was a great experience. I was in well, I was in some plays. One was like a group of holiday or holiday plays, skits, I guess, where we did the backstory for Silent Night. And I was because it was written for the guitar because the organ was broken in Germany. And I was the old lady who runs into the into the pastor, pastor, the organ is broken.
oh, wow, okay, yeah.
Yeah. um, and I was in that, and then I was in Up the Down Staircase, which is a show that you hardly ever hear about anymore. But it's kind of like uh um Mr. Tibbs. It's like one of those school teacher in tough neighborhood kind of
Yeah,
stories.
interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, I think it's a Sandy Duncan movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was in that, and then I was in another play where we did like a whole bunch of scenes from Shakespeare. I don't know why
Mhm.
we didn't just do a whole play, but whatever. And I only had a couple scenes because I was really busy that year. But one of my scenes, my dress kept snagging on things and it just kept getting more and more torn and everything. And we had this old stage that was snagging on things. And I was supposed to just come in and out. And my dress caught on the stage, and I was supposed to be off screen. Off stage, and I'm trying to get the stupid dress. And everybody, when it
Oh,
ripped, it
no.
made like this sound, but it didn't like show anything. But it was still like enough that the whole audience was like,
Dang.
so
Oh,
that was an adventure. And then I was in The Wiz, uh, very Maryland suburb white version of this.
that's what I was just gonna say. Wait.
You probably wouldn't do it now, but
No, no.
but we did have a lot of fun.
Right.
I was just in the chorus or whatever, and
Right.
then I was in Bye Bye Birdie
Yeah, right.
as a
I did my
teen.
by party in college, which
Yeah,
was it's a fun show. It's a
I feel
fun
like
show to be in.
everybody does it eventually.
Right, right. Yeah, you can't be in theater if you haven't done Bye Bye Birdie or Joseph or both.
Yeah, but one of the problems with Utah is that all these community theaters are so amazing and so good that there really isn't a lot of room for like true amateurs
Right.
like me.
Right? No, it's so true. And like you've got these like fantastic people who should be doing major stuff
Yeah.
and they're like, "No, I'm actually an orthodontist."
Yeah,
But
I'm a terrible dancer. I have sort of a little bit of dyslexia, so that like pretty much removes me from almost any musical.
right. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
understand. The last thing I did was nonsense, and I was Mother Superior, which is really nice because she doesn't dance
Okay.
because I can't dance either.
Yeah. But it would be fun to be a part of something
Yeah,
just to try it out as since I've been reviewing, but everything is so competitive here.
right. No, it's
Everything.
extremely competitive here.
Yeah.
Extremely
You're like
competitive.
competing against people in the tabernacle choir and stuff like yeah,
Right.
sure, right.
Right. Exactly. So what have you seen?
Okay. Yes. So I'll start out with talking about I saw Bright Star at the Hope Box Theater. I saw it twice. Once with my dad and mom and sister, and then once I just wanted to see the other cast because it's dual
Okay.
cast. So I
Right.
went
Right.
the second time. I absolutely love this show. It's
Had you seen the show before?
many times. Yeah.
Okay. Mm.
and I realized because I do end of the year awards
Mhm.
for the last 2 years, and I realized I'd given Best Musical twice. I gave the Ziegfeld when they did Bright Star. I give that for 2021
I
Best
loved
Musical.
their production
It
of
was
Bright
so
Star.
good.
I loved I think besides I saw Pioneer Theater's Bright Star, which was
Yeah,
the Broadway,
yeah, I
like,
saw that too.
well, yeah. Besides that one, Ziegfeld's has been my favorite Bright Star that I've seen.
It was unbelievable. And then last year, the Centerpoint and Hale Orem both did it. It was, I mean, I
Right.
just, so I
Yeah,
realized I'm
I
like,
saw
this year
Centerpoint.
I need to exempt, not include Bright Star because I
Pick
just love
something
it.
else.
It's one of those shows that I think can't be done wrong.
It's so beautiful.
I
I'm sad that I
love,
didn't get to see it at Hope Box, but like I said, I just had everything else going on. But
yeah.
I know a lot of people in the Hope Box cast too, because
Hmm.
this is where I live, in this general area, Kaysville and
Yeah.
Layton, and that's where I grew up. So I knew a lot of people in the cast, and so I'm kind of really sad that I missed out on it. But I'm sure they did a fantastic
Oh,
job.
it was so good. And it's such a cool thing what they do at that theater with picking a Hope Box recipient that's dealing with
Yes.
cancer. I think it adds, especially for a show like this, which is a very community and feeling show. I think it adds something to the experience.
Yeah, I agree. I really do love what Hope Box does and their
Yeah.
whole mission. It's been something that ever since I discovered that theater, I've really enjoyed going there. But yeah, Bright Star is just such a beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful show.
I can't believe it only got 109 showings on Broadway.
Right?
I
I don't know if it just was the wrong space or whatever, because it's had a really good community following, at least
Yeah.
here in Utah. So
Oh yeah. It's so I'm actually going to see it again this week.
where's it
And
playing
I'm
now?
seeing it at Lehigh Arts
Oh, okay.
Council.
Lehigh Arts. Okay.
Yeah. But so that was one. Did you have another one you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so I got to see at Pioneer, I saw What the Constitution Means to Me.
I saw that too.
And yeah, so I had seen the original. And so I was a little worried because I thought, well, I got to see it with Heidi, the actual real Heidi.
Mhm.
So will it be weird to see it with someone that's not her?
Mhm.
And so I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't weird. And I brought my daughter, my 16, almost 17-year-old
Mhm.
daughter. And just with the subject matter and everything, with my daughter growing up and getting into politics and everything else, I felt like it was very timely and very
Mhm.
well received by my daughter. So
Mm.
I really did enjoy it, and we had good conversation afterwards. And I
Yeah.
like that kind of theater. I
Mhm.
like the kind of theater where you can leave and have good conversation
Mhm.
afterwards.
And
So
maybe
that
it was hurt
was
a
good.
little bit that I didn't see it with anybody, so I didn't have that advantage. I was a
Sure.
little frustrated by it. I thought that it started out really strong and the sort of the flashbacks to the Elks Lodge or Shriners or wherever it was, um, giving those speeches and kind of commenting on it and talking about it. But
Hmm.
I felt frustrated when she kind of was like, well, we're not going to do that anymore. We're doing something else. And it
Right.
just became these kind of rambling stories. And then it got into this debate thing. And I guess what frustrated me about that was I felt like I wish it had been debate that was a little bit more actionable. Like debating whether we should get rid of the Constitution or not is not something that's like on the table right now. Like it's not.
Right.
And so
Right.
I found it kind of frustrating. It felt to me like the kind of thing where people want to kind of make themselves feel like they're doing something important without actually like accomplishing anything.
Sure.
And so that was sort of my frustration of leaving. Like, I was like, why? I felt like it was going so well, and then it took a turn for me. I don't know. That
Right.
was what was frustrating to me.
Right. And I can see your point there. I think that from the eyes of, like I said, like a 16 or 17 year
Yeah.
old, and when she was talking to me about the laws themselves and what that meant, and also my daughter has done debate herself. And
Mhm.
so she was talking to me about the rules of debate and what you have to do and everything. And so then she was talking about, well, I would have wanted to argue it this way and that way. It felt really, really fascinating that way. But I can see how, yeah, we're not changing the Constitution or getting rid of it. And so it could seem like a frivolous debate in that way. But
Yeah.
yeah, my daughter was talking about how y that when she's done debate, those are the kind of arguments that she was handed. And so she was very, very animated the whole drive home,
Mhm.
talking about all the things that she had done in debate.
Yeah, that would make it more interesting. Well, I had a couple others that we can go through kind of quickly.
Yeah, and
Um,
I one more too that I
oh
saw as
yeah.
well, so
Okay,
but you
good.
go yeah, you go
Okay,
first.
I saw Company at the Empress
Oh,
Theater.
how was that?
I loved it. I thought it was really good. Very well cast. I liked the lead a lot, playing Bobby Roberts, and they had live band, which to me makes like a huge
Oh
difference.
my gosh, so much. I love
Mhm.
it when they bring in live musicians.
Yeah, and then I also saw Cabaret, and they also had a live band. And what they did with
And that
Cabaret,
was at the U,
yeah,
right?
that was at the U at a black. It was the Black Box
Mhm.
at the U, and they had half of the band on the ground, and then the other half were on this podium or whatever up above, and they had this
Mhm.
rolling stage that rolled in and out. The props and everything. And I thought that that really worked at making you feel like you were surrounded by music and you were in this club. And before the musical started, the dancers and the master of ceremonies came out into this audience and were kind of chatting and playing up their characters and flirting and stuff. And that was really fun. I really enjoy when people bring when shows bring the show out into the audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was very fun. So those were 2 that I enjoyed. I also saw, Fun Home, and this was
That is one
Wasatch
I've never
Theater.
seen. I wanted to go see it with Wasatch, and I just didn't get a chance, but that's something I've never seen on stage.
Yeah, I really recommend it, especially you being a psychologist. I think you would find
Yeah,
it
no.
very
I've listened
interesting.
to all the music and read all about it, but I've never seen it, so I really would like to.
Yeah. I mean, it's so bold, and you've got to admire Alison Bechdel for, like,
Right.
being willing to put all of her dirty laundry out and her family's
Right?
intimate secrets out there. That
Right.
was very brave.
Yeah.
Uh, I think the songs are just okay.
Mhm.
There's a couple memorable ones, Ring of Keys.
Right. Ring of Keys is the one that's most famous.
Yeah. But I think it's more known for the stories and how different it is and how bold it
Right.
is than it is for the like great songs.
Right. Right.
Um, and I saw Titanic at Hale Center Theater.
So how was that? So I saw Titanic on Broadway in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
And I remember liking it, but then like no one ever did it ever again. So like I haven't seen it ever since. So but
Well,
I
one thing
imagine Hale did it well tech wise, but
yeah. Oh, yeah. You really feel like you're on the boat. They did a great job with that. Another show where I don't feel like the songs are all that memorable. I couldn't tell you a single
no,
song.
no. Yeah.
But one thing I don't understand, and I wish I could talk to somebody at Hale about this, because they've now done 2 Titanic themed musicals with Sinkable Molly Brown, and now this, and they haven't used the giant tank that they have for either of them.
Oh, Really? See, and I assumed that they would have. So yeah,
Yeah,
that is
I would
interesting.
too. And so I
Wow.
don't know if they just got rid of the tank after Treasure Island or
Or they just had liability issues. Who knows?
yeah,
That's
I
interesting.
would love to know because they're just things like you would want to use it for Titanic.
Right. Right. Huh.
Very weird. I don't think they use it for the Little Mermaid either. I didn't see that one, but
Yeah, I didn't either.
so I don't know what is going on there. I feel like I mean I hold Hale to a higher standard because it is so expensive.
Right. I was gonna
Uh
say they cost a lot of money, so you would expect that they can put together something higher.
yeah, I mean the singing is great, the production was great. Was it $70 great? Mm,
Right. And something that always frustrates me with Hale too is with the amount of money that you spend, why can't they bring in live musicians?
yeah. Bring in live musicians and why they can't pay their
Pay their
actors
actors
better. I
better.
mean,
Yep.
I guess if they're signing up for it, it's their
Right.
life and their choices, but it does seem
Right.
like if you're getting in Broadway level prices, you should become an equity theater.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Merch Store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies Merch Store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies. So
what's your other one you want to talk about?
So I did see there's actually two. I'm just sitting here looking at my calendar. There is two that I saw, but so I did see Hairspray at the Eccles.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, which was fun, but it was Hairspray. Like it wasn't I don't know, like I like Hairspray. I do. I like Hairspray a lot. And I thought that the touring company did fine, but it wasn't anything there wasn't anything new or exciting about it. It just was Hairspray.
Yeah, I thought that I did the review for Utah Theater Bloggers, and I enjoyed it because I enjoy Hairspray, but I thought that some of the sets seemed kind of dinky on the small side, especially anything at the show.
I saw I saw the original cast on Broadway. And I remember just being blown away.
Yeah.
But I didn't know the show very well when I went and saw it. And it was exciting and fresh and new and whatever. And so when I was trying to analyze my own brain, I'm just thinking, am I hairsprayed out? You know, like, because now I've seen community theater productions of it and I've reviewed it. Or was it that, you know, the sets have been scaled down, or is it just tired? I don't know. Like I couldn't figure it out because I love the costumes. I love the costumes in Hairspray.
Yeah.
And the music is fun and the dancing is fun, and there was nothing about it that was so different that I felt like it was totally different than the original cast. But it just didn't feel like that energy that I felt when I saw it back early 2000s when I saw it on Broadway when I lived there.
There was a production at Draper Amphitheater in 2022 that was unbelievable. They had, for the Corny Collins set, just as one of the many sets, they had a large screen in the back that had a frame like a television, and they had somebody going around with a live camera that was then fed to that screen in the back, so like a TV studio.
Right.
It was amazing, I thought.
That's way cool. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what the difference was. I couldn't pinpoint it, but I just remember feeling so different when I first saw it in New York as compared to when I saw it at the Eccles. So
yeah.
But then the other one I wanted to talk about was up in Ogden, Good Company Theater, which Good Company Theater is just a gem not enough people know about, and it makes me sad. Like,
Mhm.
I really wish more people would know about this lovely theater. It's run by two sisters, Alicia and Camille Washington, and they did have to, like, they can't or postponed a lot of their season this year due to some COVID situations and whatever. And so they came back in April with kind of a cabaret type show that they called Queer the Stage. And what they did is they just pulled in a bunch of different queer performers from the Valley, and they did songs from the golden age of musicals. And so it was really fun. It was very much like the first season of um, Schmigadoon. And but then it was almost like if you know Broadway miscast, because it was different people singing different things. So people you wouldn't expect singing songs. And but my goodness, were they fantastic. And so they, like, someone would come out and sing. I'm trying to think now because my brain is fried and I don't have the review or the because I reviewed it or
Mhm.
the program in front of me. But you'd have someone um singing like it was a woman who sang one of um Professor Higgins' songs from My Fair
Oh,
Lady,
okay.
and she did so well. And then she just pulls out a violin and starts playing, and it was just like, oh my gosh, look at this talent. And then there was a performer in drag, and they were amazing. And their costumes, I kept whispering to my husband, I want that dress, I want that dress, I want that dress. Just so much fun. The music director who had put all of everything together had just picked some of the most gorgeous songs and some of the most gorgeous ways to arrange them. And it was just a fun, lovely night at the theater where it was just lots of fun. And
Mhm.
everything that they do there at the Good Company Theater they just think about the shows that they pick. And most of the time, it's things I've never seen before. And I feel like as a critic, I have grown more going to shows there because I always have to, like, research, and I have
Mhm.
to see something that I've never seen before. I have to think about it. Sometimes I have to sit uncomfortable in my seat because it's stuff that I'm not used to, stuff that I have to stretch. And as much as I do love to go to, my favorites, the
Mhm.
things that make me comfortable, like I'd go and see Hades Town every night that it's here or whatever, something
Mhm.
like that. I really truly love going to something brand new and different and just opening up my eyes. And that's what Good Company does. And so yeah,
Mhm.
it was really lovely to go back to them, and I'm glad that they opened up again. They haven't announced next year's season yet, but I'm watching and waiting
Mm.
for what they're gonna do next
I have
year.
to go to that. I haven't been to that theater. It's just amazing. There's just so many here in Utah. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable. It's
yeah.
unbelievable.
They're just in this little, like, old storefront in downtown Ogden. And it's really funny because they have this little pillar that's stuck right in the middle. It's like a black box theater, and this pillar is just stuck there. And I always joke with them because I'm like, every time I come to a show, I think, how are you gonna use the pillar? And they did a production of 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, and that they used the pillar as a basketball hoop, and that was like the best way they ever used the pillar. I was like, okay, that set design is
That's funny.
my
As long as it's
favorite
not
way we've
blocking
ever
your
used the
view.
pillar. And there have been times when it is, and they hate it, and they make jokes about it. They made a joke during the performance this last time where they were like, oh, we still are trying to figure out how to get rid of the pillar. And so,
I
like, it's a huge joke with them. But yeah, the basketball hoop was the best choice of
That's
how to
funny.
use the pillar.
I saw Scrooge at Beverly Terrace and Plaza, and last Christmas season, and they had this like light pillar, light post, and it was completely blocking my view. And then thankfully, about a couple scenes in, they got rid of it. I was, oh, I
Yep.
can't see.
Yeah, no,
But
and it's interesting about some of these theaters like that and Hale Orem. Well,
mhm.
I haven't been to the new Hale Orem now, but um the way that when they've got so much like three sides, and you're like, okay, when you design a set, can you sit in all the seats
Yeah.
so that
That
you
was
notice this?
that was my complaint about, I'm not like the biggest Into the Woods fan, but I do
Right,
appreciate it for what it is. And I
right.
saw it at West Valley,
Yeah, and
and
they're a total round.
yeah, and they did an amazing job, incredible as they always do.
Yes, West
But
Valley is so good at
I felt like I had their backs to me. I was like, I got the
sure.
unlucky side. And when you're doing theater in the round, you need to keep moving so
Right.
that one side doesn't get the backs.
Yep. Yep.
Um, I a couple others. I did see Bye Bye Birdie at Terrace Plaza, and that was a lot of
Right.
fun. I hate the
Right.
mother character. She's the worst.
Right. Right.
I hate her. Um, and I saw Pirates of Penzance at the Parker, and I enjoyed it. I did get a little sleepy. It was kind of warm. They hadn't changed over they still had the heat going, and I was just tired.
And
Not any fault of theirs.
that is not one of my favorite shows. I feel like that's one that's
Yeah.
tired. But do you know Ziegfeld few years ago, or maybe it was just last year, did a gender bent version, and that was so fun.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, this is fresh, where all the women were pirates, and then
Oh yeah.
all the men were the climbing over Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
That was fun. But yeah, so I can understand getting tired during pirates,
Yeah.
especially
Uh
if the theater was warm.
yeah, and then I saw Moon Over Buffalo, which is a play at the
Right.
Critic
Yeah.
Center, and that was fun. Silly, very silly, but enjoyable. And then I also another play, the complete works of William Shakespeare,
Shakespeare Abridged. Yeah.
revised, abridged, at the Pleasant Grove Players, which is I think a hidden gem in the Pleasant Grove Library. It's just this like
Yes. Yeah.
tiny little theater, but everything I've seen there has been great.
Yeah. I've only seen one thing there, but yeah, I remember being very, very impressed.
Mhm. Yeah, so that was fun. And I thought that it was very improv heavy, which normally I don't like improv. I don't know, I just find that it's usually more awkward than funny and just it's just not my favorite.
You have to
And so
have a
I
really good improv troupe. When you have a really good improv troupe, it's fantastic. But yeah, it can be very awkward if you don't.
yeah.
So
Yeah. And so I thought that's what it was, but I guess it's pretty much all scripted and they
yeah,
just
no,
make little
it's a
changes.
scripted show. Yep.
Yeah. So that was interesting. The last thing I wanted to talk about was I saw at the movie theater, I saw Spirited Away live on stage.
I was just hearing about that,
Yeah.
and some people were raving about it. What did you think?
It was unbelievable. And there's one more chance. I mean, as of this, when this airs, it'll be over. But on Tuesday, it's playing again. So you do have a chance to see
Okay.
it on
Yeah.
Tuesday. But it was unbelievable. Just the production alone,
Yeah,
the
people were saying the
amount of
production value and the visuals of it were
yeah,
just
the sets,
phenomenal.
the
Yeah,
puppetry, the costumes,
right.
unbelievable. There was one, it's just like this tiny little detail, but there's one scene where one of the characters is swimming on the stage floor and it looked so good. I was blown away. I've never seen swimming on a stage floor, just the way that they had the sound design and the lights and the visual effects and everything. It's like it looks like you're swimming. It was really good. It is long. It's a long set. It's 3 hours long, but I really would recommend it to anybody. I think it was great.
Yeah, no, I heard that it was just phenomenal.
Mhm.
So very interesting.
Yeah, I would recommend watching the film first or having some experience with it.
Yeah,
But
I've seen the film.
okay, yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. So there we go. Is a very, very busy month for theater, and I'm
Yes,
excited
absolutely.
for May. It's gonna be
I'm
fun.
so excited for May. I've got a lot of interesting things on the
Yeah,
horizon. And then, oh, summertime. Summertime in Utah. So
yeah,
much good theater.
yeah. I'm
So
actually doing a Shakespeare Festival trip in August. I'm
awesome.
really excited about that, and I'm very looking forward to Hale Center Theater Orem this week. I'm seeing once there, and it's all of the actors play their own instruments.
Yes, yes. That's what they do in once, and it's fantastic.
So
I'm
this,
excited. I'll tell you the one thing in May that I'm excited for is at Pioneer Theater, because I love it when I get to go and see something I haven't seen before, because it's not very often. I'm going to go see The Prom, and I've never seen The Prom
oh,
before, and I actually never watched the movie, so I haven't seen it. So
I have
I'm
seen them.
going
I'm
in.
actually reviewing it for UTBA.
Cool. Yeah, we have.
That's gonna be
I
fun.
I have season tickets to Pioneer, so yeah, I'm excited. I purposely not watched the movie because I wanted to see it on stage when I heard that Pioneer was doing it. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited, kind of going in blind. I've actually not even listened to the music. So
That is a
very
fun
excited.
experience when you can do that, when you can
Yeah,
go.
and it's very rare for me to have that, but for whatever reason, I just haven't gotten very exposed to The Prom. So yeah, very excited.
Yeah. That would be so cool. Well, thanks so much for doing this. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
if people want to follow you on social media or anything like that,
Yeah, I'm just on Instagram and Facebook under my name, Maren Swenson. On TikTok, I'm under Doc Broadway, and Twitter under Maren Swenson as well.
great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews and Rachel's Reviews Theater, and then all over social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. I'll have the playlist for all of the theater content that I am doing. We have some really fun stuff coming up for Theater Tuesday, so make sure to check that out. And thanks so much. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.